gospel lesson this morning comes to us from the gospel according to John. On the third day there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to you and me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now, standing there were 6 stone water jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to them, "Fill the jars with water." And they filled them up to the brim. He said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the chief steward." So they took it. When the steward tasted the water that had become wine, and did not know where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the servant called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now." Jesus did this, the first of his signs in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Friends, I have checked my calendar and the lectionary, and I'm sorry, Esmeralda, wherever you are, I can say with certainty that Christmas is finally and fully over. The celebration is done, and we can leave the party. In fact, I have it on good authority that even the wine has run out. And where there's no wine, there is no party. So it's time to call it a day. Wait a minute. I stand corrected. Just wait a minute. I'm wrong. The wine is still flowing. And I must say, the celebration is still on, and I'm very impressed. You know, most people say, this is the good stuff. Most people save it for last, right? When the party's kind of all, folks quite, they don't tell the difference, right? But you, or I should say, God has saved the good stuff until last. This is good news indeed. It was certainly good news for the wedding at Cana, where the celebrations were about to come to a premature end. Yet the good news was not only for the wedding party. The wine and celebration of life that had flowed so freely in the days of King David and Solomon had long since dried up. The earthly manifestation of the kingdom of Israel in the time of Jesus Christ was merely a shadow of its former glory. But as the people were about to discover, the celebration was not over. The hope of Israel had not dried up. The good wine was about to be served. Now, let me explain. You see, wine is manufactured, right? It is the product of human hands, of human effort. In this light, wine can represent our attempts, our human attempts, to celebrate life. Therefore, at its best, when it's not abused, wine is used to heighten the enjoyment of life. Not surprisingly, then, we often celebrate the beginning of some new phase of life, such as a wedding, with wine. And this is understandable and represents 2 important dimensions of the human experience. First, we are a hopeful people. Therefore, we celebrate new beginnings, such as a wedding, because of all that it represents and signifies, and all the wonderful possibilities that we anticipate in a new home. Second, though, we are also a realistic people. The wine at a wedding, which represents our hope, may indeed run dry over time and end in disillusionment. So we celebrate now while we can, as an expression both of our hope for the future and the realization that our efforts to celebrate life may run dry in the face of harsh reality. Yet, my friends, there is a wine that is made not by human hands, but by the grace of God. This wine is made from the common, the ordinary, that which is found all around us, which has been changed by the grace of God into the good stuff. For where human efforts to rejoice in life dry up, or the wine of celebration that we have made runs out, God, by God's grace, renews and restores hope. God offers the good stuff. You see, this is the power of the gospel of Jesus Christ. It changes water into wine, the common into the uncommon, the mundane into a cause for celebration. The most common drudgery in life in the hands of the gospel becomes an opportunity to serve God in Christ. For we no longer serve earthly masters, but our Father in heaven through faith in Christ. Therefore, even the most common tasks are changed into the possibility of joyful service, like common water into wine. So that even when our human efforts to celebrate life run dry, we have a wine that is from God, not made by human hands, in which to refresh our spirits and renew our celebration of life. So where do we get this wine that is not manufactured by human effort but by the grace of God? And where do we enjoy this wine that can refresh our spirits and renew our hope so that we can continue to celebrate long after the wedding parties of life are over? This wine is found right here, though you will not find it in any glass or bottle or any other inanimate container. Instead, you are the new wine, the good stuff which God has produced in order to renew the celebration of life. For you are no common or ordinary person for one reason: Christ has died for you. By this act, by this work of grace, God has manufactured faith in you, faith in Jesus Christ. And this faith transforms you from a common person into a believer, from water into wine. Not the work of human hands, but the work of the grace of God. And it's not a moment too soon. For the wine, by which I mean the human efforts to celebrate life, is running low in the world. It is all but dried up in Sandy Hook, where the devastating attack left many teachers and children dead and a nation traumatized. The celebration of God's gift of life is being tested in wars and acts of terror. Hunger, poverty, injustice, neglect, and abuse across our world and in our own backyard threaten to end all hope of celebrating the gift of life, sometimes even before the wedding party has begun. Yet God has saved the best for last: you. As the common person who has been changed into the new wine by the work of God, you are the one who can offer others a reason to celebrate life. For, as you know all too well, one does not have to look any further than one's own family to find a wedding party that is running out of wine. That is to say, the brokenness of this world is found in every family on this earth. There are no exceptions. But God sends us back into these broken relationships, the sufferings of mind and body, the wreckage of our own sin and the sins of others, as ones who have been loved and forgiven by Christ. We are the new creation, the good wine, who can, if we dare, share that same love and forgiveness with our own families and the world, and thereby offer others the opportunity to celebrate life once again. No, neither you nor I have the power to change the hearts of others from unbelief to faithfulness any more than we can change water into wine. But we who have been changed by the work of God's grace can live new lives of hope. For the good news of Christ has the power to change our hate into love of our enemies, our grievances into opportunities for forgiveness, our anxieties into patience and confidence in God, our pain into compassion for the suffering of others. And together in the church, we can nurture that hope and proclaim it to the world through words and deeds. For if you are the new wine, the good stuff, then the church is the wedding reception, the place where we celebrate all of life, the place where we see hope, even in the shadow of the cross. For the human horizon ends at death. By our own power, we can see nothing beyond the boundary of life. But by the power and grace of God, we see more. We see hope that extends beyond death. The celebration does not end at the grave, but finds a new home, a heavenly home, and a new banquet, a heavenly banquet, where Christ is the groom, the church is the bride, and the wine of celebration never stops flowing. Let all God's people say,